Good day everyone, we are the group 3 and we are the reporter for chapter 5, the 19th century Philippine economy, society and the Chinese mestizos. So for our first topic, we have our first reporter, Mr. Raymond Drago.
So the first topic that I will be discussing is the changing landscape of Philippine economy and society. So during the 18th, the Philippines went through big changes not just in the economy but also in society, politics, and culture. Back then, the galleon trade was starting to fade. It wasn't doing so well anymore by the time Governor Basco arrived. To help fix and keep the economy going, Basco came up with a new plan. In 1785, he created the Royal Philippine Company. The purpose was to support local farming and other businesses, open up a new trading opportunities not just with Spain but also with other Asian countries, and make the Philippine economy stronger and more independent. So in short, this was a turning point, a time when leaders like Basco started looking for new ways to grow the economy and connect the Philippines to the new world in a better, more direct way. So in the early 18th, the Philippine economy started to grow through the export of cash crops like tobacco, sugar, and coffee. Land became more valuable, and as farming focused in making profit, rich landowners gained more control, while many farmers struggled with the changes.
Good day everyone, I am Nash and will be your second reporter for the topic the Chinese and the Chinese mestizos. So the sector that greatly benefit from the changing economy were the Chinese and the Chinese mestizos. Since pre-colonial times, the native Philippines had trade relations with the Chinese. During the height of the galleon trade, it was also Chinese products that comprised most of the goods being traded. The influx of the Chinese settlement in the Philippines made the Spaniards suspicious of the Chinese. This feeling led to stringent state policies towards the Sangli, ranging from the higher taxes, the restriction of movement with the establishment of the Chinese enclave, to actual policies of expulsion. The Chinese, however, proved that to be necessarily outsiders in the Philippine colonial economy and the society. Although the Spaniards were wary of the Chinese, they realized that the importance that the latter played in sustaining the economy. From the goods loaded on the galleons to the development of retail trade, the Chinese invent the economy. Eventually and gradually they became integrated into colonial society, giving rise to the intermarriages with Indios that gives birth to the Chinese mestizos. The Chinese mestizos assumed that important role in the economy all throughout the Spanish colonial period. They influenced the changing economy in the 19th century by purchasing land, accumulating wealth and influences. So for our third topic, impact on life on the colony. Economic development, as mentioned, precipitated social, political, and cultural development as well. For example, the new economy demanded a more literate population to address rising need for more professionalized workforce demand the trading activities in Manila and other centers. This demand compelled the issuance of the colonial government order in 1836 that required all towns to set up primary schools to teach the population how to read and write. It eventually led to the passage of educational decree in 1863 that mandated free primary educations. Eventually, the 19th century also gave birth to many schools that addressed growing demand for more professionals. Schools like Ateneo Municipal were established during this time. The complex nature of development economy also allowed the government to incentivize bureaucratization and streamline colonial governance. As Manila became a trading center, it became viable destination for people seeking better opportunities or those wanting to escape worsening conditions in the farmlands. The increasing rate of internal migration raised several concerns. One, people flocked and centers of trade like Manila, overcrowding implied issues in living quarters, sanitation and public health care, and increase in criminality. Two, a continuous movement of people made tax collection extra difficult in order to migrate these concerns. One measure implemented was the 1849 decree of Gobernador General Narciso Claveria that urged people to the economy to adopt surnames. With the Catalogo de Apellidos drawn up, the colonial government assigned surnames to people and foldable changing names that at will, together with more policies like the registration and profession of a cedula professional bearing one's name and residence. The colonial government sought to have better surveillance mechanism to help carry out policies better. The Guardia Civil was eventually established as the new economy afforded to the colonial state new opportunities. It also promoted the state to be more regulatory and assert its authority.
Good day everyone. I am the third reporter of the topic Renegotiating Social Stratification. The Philippine society felt the impact of developing economy. As a result, social relations underwent redefinitions and the changing dynamics brought about a renegotiating of social stratification. Social stratification, which refers to the hierarchical arrangement of individuals and groups within a society based on factors like wealth, power, and status. It essentially means the structuring of society to layers or strata where some groups have more privilege and access to resources than others. This system often leads to inequalities in opportunities and outcomes. With the growing relevance of the mestizo population, new lines were drawn with the following social strata: peninsular, or the pure-blooded Spaniard born in the Iberian Peninsula. Second is the insular, or the pure-blooded Spaniard born in the Philippines. Third, mestizo, which was born of mixed parentage. A mestizo can be Spanish mestizo, one parent is Spanish, the other is a native. Chinese mestizo, which one parent is Chinese, the other is a native. Fourth, Principalia, or the wealthy pure-blooded native, supposedly descended from the Kadatuan class. Fifth is the Indio, or the pure-blooded native of the Philippines. And lastly, Chino and Fiel, which are the non-Catholic pure-blooded Chinese.
Good day everyone. So the summary for this chapter aimed to situate Rizal's life within the larger context of the 19th century. It focused on the economic and social development in the century that shaped the world in which Rizal lived. This development in the economy also had a profound impact on the social and political landscapes. The new economy resulted in changes in policies about education and heightened the surveillance and regulatory mechanism of the states. So that was our report for this chapter. Once again, we are the Group 5 presenting the Chapter 5, the 19th Century Philippine Economy, Society, and the Chinese Mestizos.